Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first ever virtual Brave New Warriors panel. My name is Lynette Rice. I'm from Entertainment Weekly. I'm so sad that we're not down in Ballroom 20 this year, but I'm so happy that we still managed to get some great men to join us for this annual panel. Let me introduce them. First up, he plays the Epsilon Sdcc in Peacock's Brave New World, Mr. Joseph Morgan. Hi, Joseph.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Okay. He plays Ben Shakir, the quote-unquote devil's advocate on CBS's Evil. Hi, Asif.
Hi.
Nice. So nice to see you. He plays the cardiovascular surgeon, Dr. Floyd Reynolds, on New Amsterdam, Jocko Sims.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. He plays Russ Taylor, the master manipulator on MacGyver, Mr. Henry Ian Cusick. Hi, Henry.
Hello.
Ian to your friends, I understand. And he plays the sweet, mild-mannered Nacho Vargo. Is that fair? Mild-mannered? On Better Call Saul, Michael Mando. Thanks, Michael.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. I should probably do a quick poll here. Who's been down to Comic-Con before?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I have, yeah.
So I'm sure this feels exactly just same thing, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Have you all been in the big rooms before? Or, Ian, I'm sure you were in like the large rooms for Lost back in the day, right?
Oh, I never went for Lost. I went for the 100 twice, and I did a panel. And I never know what size the rooms are. You just walk in, you're down these warrens, and then they lead you down the back of these, I don't know where, and all of a sudden you're on stage, and there's all these people out there. So you never really know how big or small the room is.
Right, till you're sort of like peeking out the curtain to
That's right.
Before you go out on stage. Yeah.
I got to have a couple of great experiences going for The Last Ship. I think the first time I went to Comic-Con was in 2014, and it's just madness. And I had one of those experiences, Ian, where I walked out and it was just like boom, and it's like here it is. Right. This is real.
When we went there for Evil, we were just sort of shepherded around from one room to the next, and I really wanted to get into the mix.
To walk the floor and to kind of experience it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I did the Warrens thing and was dragged from one little place to the next, which was really cool and really exciting. And there was one place where you could go up, so you're elevated above the floor and you could look down on it all, which was really cool. Yeah.
We went only once for our show for Better Call Saul, and we were really lucky. It was the 10-year anniversary for Breaking Bad, and everybody from Breaking Bad was there, and we were all there. The fans were there not only for our show, but they were also there for Breaking Bad, and it was just unbelievable. And we couldn't walk down because the moment immediately people recognized some of those iconic characters from those shows. And I have to say, I heard about the culture, but I didn't know it was so beautiful and that people were so involved. It was really breathtaking.
All right, we're going to start off with a question that I like to ask every year down there, because that gives you a chance to talk about your current characters, which I want to hear about, but also gives you an opportunity to perhaps apologize for something that you've done in the past. Maybe there was a role on a TV show or in a commercial that, looking back, maybe you wish you hadn't done. So let me start with you, Joseph. Let's do the watch this part. Please tell me a little bit about your character on Brave New World.
Okay, so Brave New World is that, like, the show itself is kind of based loosely on the Aldous Huxley novel, on the world that's created there, but not specifically on the story. So if you know anything about that world, there's a pecking order to the people that live in New London in the future. There's the alphas, who are top of the food chain, and it goes all the way down, the betas, the gammas, the deltas above the gammas, and then the epsilons are right at the bottom. So my character is an epsilon. And the epsilons, basically, they're test tube babies, like everyone else in New London, but the epsilon egg is split into like 100 little eggs. So a lot of the epsilons are identical. So I got to play a lot of different characters who all looked like me, and they basically do all the shit jobs for everyone in New London. They clean the toilets, they pick up the trash, they do everything that nobody wants to do, while these alphas at the top of the chain are kind of living it up, having orgies and taking soma drugs and just living their best lives. My character, Sdcc specifically, one of the epsilons, has a kind of traumatic experience in the pilot, in the first episode, and it changes him. and he starts doing something that none of the other epsilons do, which is feeling emotions. And he starts questioning his place in the world and his reality. And why are we doing all these jobs for these people who are so far above us? And why am I at this place in the hierarchy when all these guys here are in this place? And so then with the arrival of a stranger from the savage lands to New London kind of sparks more of that in Sdcc 60, and he gets involved in a kind of a rebellion.
Alrighty.
That's cool, man.
That's good. That's good.
That sounds fun.
He really did. He really
yeah,
did.
yeah. That sounds fun.
All right, so now your past. What's something that you'd like to maybe apologize for?
See, the problem is with this question is then I'm drawing attention to something that I definitely don't want to be.
Not at all. After this, we'll completely forget about it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We'll totally forget about it.
I want to hear about it, Joseph. Come on, I'm waiting.
No one's going to find
We gotta Google it now, right?
You know what I want to apologize
It's
for?
like saying, tell us about your zit, you know? Tell us about that zit.
Oh, yeah. No, you know what I want to apologize for is, other than an amazing sailor's hornpipe dance that I did in Mansfield Park years ago with Billy Piper, and I'm proud of that, by the way. I'm only apologizing for the tears of joy that some people got. I want to apologize for all the guest stars that I killed on the Vampire Diaries and the originals, and the roles that I cut short for them, because I feel
Very
really bad
noble.
about them, you know. I know.
Very
Terrible.
noble. Good apology, though. That's a noble apology.
Thank you. Please move on.
That really is. All right, Azif, let's go to Evil. Tell me about your character on Evil.
So Evil is, for those of you who have not seen it, it's a show where we have three characters, a priest, a psychiatrist, and a scientist / technician. It sounds like a joke, but it's actually a drama.
Walk into a bar.
They are exploring paranormal activity and supernatural, and they're hired by the Catholic Church to go and investigate these various demonic possession, miracles, to find out if they're real or if they have a scientific or natural explanation. And Ben is the pragmatist of the group. He's the one who doesn't believe in all the mumbo jumbo of religion. He doesn't even really believe in psychiatry. He's a real technician and a master of that. He offers the perspective of is it a ghost or is it your air conditioner? And so he's always trying to debunk the stuff. He's the debunker on the show, and the one that they use whenever they feel like there's a technical aspect to it or an explanation.
Now let's look over your shoulder. What is there in your past that you'd maybe like to rethink?
So in the 90s, I did a commercial that was directed by the director Bob Giraldi. He was famous for the Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial where Michael Jackson's hair lit on fire. Anyway, he cast me in this commercial for Kia cars, and I played a cab driver in New York City. And the whole premise of the commercial was I'm just driving and I'm the worst driver in the world. And I'm just running into fruit carts and all this stuff in my little Kia car. But the thing was, Giraldi, who didn't really mince any words, was kind of like, hey, you do that head bob thing that the Indians do. You do that.
Oh, God.
I was like, what do you mean? He was like, the head bob thing where you go like this. You go like this. And I said, yeah, Indian people do that. It's sort of a thing that we all do, And I'm thinking to myself, my parents are going to see this, and everybody a billion Indian people are going to see this and be like, what the hell? What the f are you doing? And I realized I'm selling my culture down the road, but I really needed the money at the time because I was really broke. And I remember being in this cab, driving this cab in the commercial, and Giraldi is on one of these cranes with one of those Cecil B. DeMille things, and he's like, and I hear him yell across Broadway, and he's just like, do the head bob, do the head bob, and the accent, do the accent, the head, and I was just like, yes sir, and I'm driving this cab, and
I'm sorry you lived that, man.
It was out there. It was on TV for a little while. I don't know if anybody drives Kia cars anymore, so thank God for that.
I feel that's something they should apologize to you about.
This
Yes.
is true. Yes.
I feel they should say sorry to you for that.
All right, Michael, you're up. Let's talk about Better Call Saul.
I play Nacho Varga on Better Call Saul. It's the full name is Ignacio Varga. It's a character that's mentioned in Breaking Bad when Walter White and Jesse Pinkman have a gun to Saul Goodman's head. And essentially, I'm a guy who works for the cartel. And my story arc is when my father finds out that I'm hiding from him the fact that I work for the cartel and that they want to use his business to launder money. My father's life becomes in jeopardy. And as I rise up in the cartel, I'm willing to do everything I can, including put my life in jeopardy and go after the head of the cartel in order to save my father and get out of the cartel. We just aired season 5 a couple of months ago, and we're about to shoot season 6, which is our final season. And it feels like it's going to be a very bloody and explosive last season.
Excellent. All right, so what are you sorry about, buddy?
I think an experience that I'm most sorry about is I come from the theater, and I really never thought I would do film and TV. I loved the audiences so much, but at some point I did a play, and the director of the play had introduced me to his agent, and his agent got me my first ever film and TV gig. And I had one line in the whole, I was just cast for one line. It was a stunt actor role. And it was on this amazing kind of set where they had like fake rain, and it was supposed to be on a boat. And they pull out this boat that's called the Falcon, like the bird, Falcon Temple. And my line was, I run in from the rain, and I open the door and I say, they're going to bring down the Falcon Temple. I was so into it. I mean, I came in from preparing lead roles on theater, and I had this one line. It was my first line on TV, and I was preparing for it for days, and I was doing push-ups, and I was under the rain. I didn't want to take a lunch break, and I was just like, I'm gonna nail this line. And every time I did it, everyone would crack up laughing, and I really didn't understand why. And when they aired the show, it's my lips, but they had another actor dub my lines because I said it with so much enthusiasm that it kept sounding like they're going to bring down the temple. So my first line on TV has been dubbed by some other actor, and I was kind of like the laughing stock of the whole crew that day, and I didn't know it.
All right, Jocko, you're up. Let's talk about New Amsterdam.
Well, I'm on a show called New Amsterdam, and for those of you who don't know, it's based on a true story. It's a book written by Dr. Eric Mannheimer, who was medical director for Bellevue Hospital for 15 years. And Bellevue Hospital is the oldest public hospital in America. In fact, it's older than America, and it's still right here in New York City. So our shows are based on a true story. I play the head of the cardiac surgical department. I ended up with that job once the new medical director comes in on the first day, and he fires my entire department, including my character. And then after he did his research, he saw that my character wasn't putting, making money ahead of patient care. He wasn't doing unnecessary surgery. So he came to ask me a couple of questions about that. And you could tell that my character sort of put the patient first. And he rehired me the same day he fired me and made me the head of the department. So it's been interesting. We're heading now into our third season. It's been great.
All right. Now your past. Let's go into your past.
Yeah. I want to apologize for this. So this is a commercial I did for Best Buy. Look at that hair right there.
Is that you?
That is what I want to apologize for. A commercial I did with Kevin Garnett. And it was for Best Buy, and something about me controlling it with the remote and whatnot. And I got to meet him, which was great. But I remember during that time I was trying to grow my hair out because that was the way to really get on television looking like that. It literally looks like a mop. So what I did was I would put it in cornrows. My mom would put it in cornrows, and then she would let it out and put beeswax in it. First it would be like down, like in the mop position, and then stand up. But it actually got me started in the business. It wasn't until I grew my hair out way back in the day, around 2002, 2003, that I would get booked for roles. It was something about the hair back then, but
Wow.
but I do want to apologize for that.
All right, last but not least, Ian, let's talk about MacGyver. Who do you play on MacGyver?
On MacGyver, I've just joined the show, season 4. I play Russ Taylor. He is a larger-than-life character who's ex-MI6, military, and he's come in and he's bought the Phoenix Foundation. He's got a shady past. He was on the verge of destroying the world, and he went to the dark side, and now he had an epiphany moment, and now he's trying to do good, so he's joined Mac and the rest of the team. And I have to say, I'm having so much fun playing this larger-than-life character. I'm very grateful for not only the opportunity to do this character, but the fact that, I've got a job. We should start filming again in August.
All right, so anything you're sorry for?
When I think of this question, all the things that I'm sorry I regret doing, I don't really regret, because they made me the actor that I am. I've had so many theatrical experiences that you go out and you die. I've played the Edinburgh Festival, the Edinburgh Fringe, and so many of these shows where you're playing to one man and his dog. But they made me the actor that I am. There is one thing, I don't know if any of you guys experienced this. There's a film that I made that never got released, and I live in dread that film will be released. We shot it in 2004, and it's I think on my IMDb page it's called Everglades. It was just an experience. I later found out after I accepted the job that it was a birthday present for the young girl in the film. She was a young kid, 6 or 7 years old. I apologize in advance if that film ever gets released, and and I talk to the other actors in the show, and they say it's coming out, and it's not. I remember turning up on set and playing opposite this other lead actor, and he decided in that moment that our relationship was that we were lovers, and he just started kissing. And I looked at the director, and he went, "Yeah, I like it. Keep going with it." And I was like, "What is going on?" But it was that sort of film where you just thought, nobody.
He was just drawn to you, and you couldn't help it.
Just one of those films that we just every day.
We love each other.
I would talk to Alicia, and she'd go, "I don't know what's happening," but 25 days in Florida.
All right, so you're here today because you play some type of hero, and I have to assume that at some point in the past that you played heroes as well. So I want you to think back to all those times that you played heroes, and also think of all those times that we've watched movies or TV shows with heroes. More often than not, Hollywood relies on tropes. So in this case, I'm just going to read them off, a list, and I just want you to raise your hand if you've ever been guilty of having to perform one of these tropes in a show or a movie. All right, you started an episode in a white tank top and you ended it in a brown one. So this is like a trope, you always, the most thing I think is Bruce Willis. You started your tank top or wife beater.
You go through a load of shit.
You got dirty.
It gets dirty.
Covered in blood and dirt.
Oh, there we go.
No.
Okay.
But sometimes you can tell when they give you a white shirt, usually you get shot. I don't know if you guys ever noticed the scene where you're going to get shot, you're wearing white. Yeah.
They want to see that blood.
The blood. There you go.
Absolutely. That's a good one. All right.
It's also the sweat and the grime and the armpit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Break yourself down.
All right. Next one. You walked away from a fiery explosion.
I wish.
By the way, you never look at the explosion. If you
there you go.
That's true. That's right.
Don't ever look back at it. Not an explosion, but like a house on fire. I don't know if that
I have dove. Is it dove? Dived? I've dived away. I never walk away. They always have me hitting the ground. I don't know what that's about.
Giancarlo, who plays Gus Fring, and I kind of burnt down on Los Pollos Hermanos. But I was gone, and he took that solo explosion, not looking back shot on his own. So I wasn't really a part of it.
Nice. All right. You kissed a hot girl after saving the world or saving the day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Nice.
All right. You slid across the hood of the car like you were the star of a 70s cop show. What was that
it a
from?
Kia?
Wasn't it a Kia? Yeah.
It was that
bobbing my
commercial.
head the whole time. No, I did this movie. I forget what it was called now. It was a weird movie, but there was a shootout scene and I'd never done a shooting scene. Like I'd never done like, gunplay in that way. And I realized every time I did it, the director would yell, like we'd do the scene and then he'd yell, cut. And he'd come up to me and he'd go, Asif, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, why do you keep going?
Guilty.
I was like, I'm not doing that. And he was like, yes, you are. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. And I go back and do it again. Cut. Asif, what are you doing? I'm like, what? He's like, you keep going. You don't need to do like you. And I was like, but in the scene, I had to slide across the roof of the car to get away from the bullets. And I'd never done that either. But yeah, so I did that one time.
That's pachu. That's very common. I still do it. I go pachu in the rehearsal, and you go pachu, bang.
Yeah.
And then the take comes, and you keep doing it. And they go, yeah. I do when I'm driving a car. I go,
the two hardest things for me were when you fake drive. It's like you forget what to drive. When the first time I ever did it, when your car's on a rig and you're driving, you don't do all this kind of like checking your mirror every 2 seconds in real life.
Right.
And then when you're
steering wheel dramatically.
Yeah, you're just kind of like
sort of leaning with it.
And the second thing is when I first shot blanks, I did an extra kind of like, like if there was going to be something to it, not realizing that the blank was doing it for me. So it was kind of like, kind of doing this.
2 more tropes I want to run by you. Did you ever have to fire off a witty one-liner before killing off the bad guy? So you got your witty one-liner and then pachu.
Yes. I had one. We not one of the proudest moments regarding the writing, but we were trying to take down some bad guys who were foreigners, and they came, and I was on my back to the ground. I had my gun trained on someone, and one of them put a gun out on me, and he said something in a different language, and I said, I don't speak that language.
Pachu. Right.
That really happened.
I did a video game called Far Cry 3, which is kind of my first big breakthrough. And I had a whole monologue where the main antagonist keeps repeating, have I ever told you the definition of insanity? And he ends up throwing the guy off of a cliff, repeating that this whole monologue where he quotes Einstein. And that was pretty much my first big breakthrough was because of that.
All right, and finally, the final trope is you're cradling a baby in your beefy arms while saying, you're safe now, little Jessica. Any scene like that?
I wish.
No, I gave a baby away.
Sadly, no. I look forward to the day I can do that, though.
Me too. I'd love to do that. Baby Jessica.
I gave a baby away because it wasn't safe with me. Like, take this baby.
That's good, too.
Take after this one.
I like that. You got some good ones, Joseph. You raised your hands up almost for every single one of them.
I know, and most of them were while playing a villain, so it sort of flipped the
even
trope.
better.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, I want to go back at the beginning of your career, too. Do you have any fun stories from your first headshot that you ever took in Hollywood? Let me start with you, Ian. Can you remember back when you first got those together? Do you remember some of the poses that you would have to do, what you wore?
I was very lucky. I was at a dinner party and I met this photographer called Randy St. Nicholas. I had no idea who she was. And she said, I'd like to take your photo. And I just arrived in LA. And I said, okay, great. And she was doing it for nothing. I went to a studio and just wearing what I was wearing. And she said, no. And she put me in all these cool clothes. And then slowly I realized, through our course of our conversation and shooting, she had shot Prince and Madonna and all these other people. So my first photo shoot in LA was probably my best, and those are the best shots I've ever had. Yeah,
in the pointy brassiere that Madonna
it was just hanging there in the background, just about here. And I was like looking at it, going, oh. But so I was very fortunate in my first photo shoot. Yeah.
Jocko, how about you?
Oh man, this was just strange. I'm trying to collect still all the details. It was 20 years ago. I was new to LA. My mom had moved there, and I just looked up a guy online that does headshots. My mom went with me. He was like really a little too much into my mom, who was young, very very beautiful. and he shoots me. In retrospect, the shots were terrible. Then he's like, hey, I want to shoot your mom. And so we're just there during this awkward time. And Mom, I know you're watching this. I don't know if you remember that. I won't say the man's name, but it just was very creepy. I remember us leaving and going, is this what this is going to be like in this business? It was strange. But I got one good headshot out of it.
Michael, how about you?
The first time I'm Canadian and I studied theater in Montreal. So my first headshot wasn't in Hollywood, it was in Canada. And we were in our second year of theater school and I was about to do my first play. And I was, I think, a little too into sort of acting at the time. And I didn't want anybody to see my headshot because I wanted them to see me as the character. And my teacher was like, stop being an idiot. Go right now with your friend, take a photo. I need it printed and I need it up tomorrow for opening night. So I had no choice. And a good friend of mine called Nico Rasico and I went in the back of the theater. He just snapped a photo in the railroads. And that was my first headshot. We went to the pharmacy at the time and we printed it. You have to kind of pay and wait for it a couple hours. And that was my first headshot.
Asif, what about you?
So I started out my career down in Florida, in Orlando, and I was doing like comedy and stuff down there. And I needed a headshot, and I thought, I it's not enough for me to have just one image to capture my versatility. I need to have a composite. So I went to this photographer in Orlando and I took all these costumes and everything. And I literally ended up, I shot a composite where I was like, in one shot, I was like a nerd and I parted my hair and I had the glasses with the Band-Aid in the middle. And I was like, woo, and then I had another one with just a bandana on and I sort of put like product in my hair and I looked like, and I did, sort of like, put on some fake stubble and kind of had like a bad look like that. And then the other shot was just me with a mustache and then just me without a mustache. And so, and I had these 4 shots and I would literally just send them out. And I don't think I got a single job from that. I was like, but look, I can do a nerd and I can play like a gangbanger as well. Like I was like, I can do all these different things. But yeah, they're pretty. I have them still somewhere in a box, but they were maybe the worst thing I've ever shot. Like it was literally like it's even today. It's incredibly embarrassing to look at. So
Joseph, do you have pictures like that?
Not really. No, I mean, like, I love all the guidelines, by the way, they give you when you get a headshot in. Like, if you want, you can come in different costumes. We don't recommend, and I can imagine people coming with sort of a cop uniform and different parts and stuff. But like, I mean, I went to drama school in London and then kind of got headshots done early. I will say this, my agents insist upon using a headshot from 10 years ago. I've only just got them to change it. They love that headshot. And I feel like I'm moving further and further away from the guy who's like a decade younger than I am. But that's just perpetuating the Hollywood myth, isn't it? Of like the eternal youth.
Yes,
So I don't know. But yeah, no.
Joseph, I want to ask you, when you got your shots done in London, were they black and white?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because I'm a classically trained actor.
I remember because I took some color shots back to London and they were like, no, these are no good. They have to be black and white. No one will use these shots. They're too colorful.
You'll be laughed out of the casting room
Exactly,
with these color shots.
Yeah.
So playing a hero, I would have to assume occasionally involves some intimate scenes. I'm going to just throw this out there and I'll just take the volunteers. I won't call you one-on-one. Can you think of any time it was very awkward to shoot one of these scenes? Can you remember what it was like with the director? What is the most awkward moment you've had in like an intimate scene?
I'm going to say the thing about intimate scenes is that you're lying there in bed and your torso is shown, and it's that moment you go, why didn't I go to the gym? All that time I could, because you're lying in between takes, you're doing the push-ups, sit-ups, and you're thinking, why did I leave it till now? I remember that's the most overwhelming thing every time I've done
You really think that? You really go there? You do go there?
Yeah, I'm telling you, you seem because all guys do it. Right? Back me up here, guys. Tell me the truth. Isn't everyone doing push-ups?
Everybody wants to look good naked, right?
You don't do that late. That's how late I leave it.
to the day of the
Everybody-
shoot.
The morning
Do some
before.
push-ups.
Ah, damn it. I've got 3 hours until the shoot. I've had to do intimate scenes on an outdoor set. It's like a room, but it's actually built with the windows open to the outdoors. And at nighttime, and they lit a bunch of candles in the room to make it look really intimate, and they covered me in glycerin to look like I'm sweating and supposed to look really intimate. And what happens is, you know, it's boiling there because I'm somewhere hot filming. There's 30 sweaty crew members filming you, and in between they run in to pick all the dead insects off the glycerin that have stuck to your body. So it's like the least intimate romantic experience you can ever imagine, I think.
My first time, I was in theater school again, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was new to the whole acting thing. I came into it really late, and I was cast as the lead, and the character opposite me was double cast, so there was two girls that were playing the lead depending on the night. And there was a very big kissing scene that the director really insisted that was very passionate. But I, as being new to the business, I felt so uncomfortable kissing another girl than my girlfriend. I didn't know how she was going to take it if she came to see the play. And I was really, really perplexed about it. And the kiss never worked for the director. And he made us rehearse the kiss over and over and over again. And I had to kiss two girls, and we had to keep rehearsing it until he felt I was comfortable and we got it right. That was my first psychological mind around acting and realizing, like, where do you draw the line? How much of this is real? How much of this is imagined? And how do you do this profession and then go home?
But see, now they've got intimacy coordinators, haven't they? Which is so much better, I think, because like that was always such a weird experience, especially when you work with shy directors who just like, they think the best thing to do is, let me just leave the camera rolling and you guys do whatever you feel. And I'm like, no, dude, structure it, like treat it like a fight scene. Let's choreograph it. We know what we're doing. We know when it ends, because it's crazy otherwise. It's not better to like have loads of freedom. It's just more awkward, I think. The whole
Yeah,
thing
it is. And at the same time, it's like when you're doing any other kind of scene, you want to believe what you're feeling, and you want the actor with you to believe that you believe what you're feeling. And it's kind of awkward because when you're doing a love scene, you want to find a way to fall in love with the person you're with, and if your character really is enjoying this person, you have to believe that you're enjoying it, but at the same time, you want to be really respectful and not go there. And it's a really weird situation.
It's also hard when I did a movie years ago where it was me and the female lead had a trajectory of our romance where we first met, and then and so we ended up shooting our love scene the first day of shooting. Like we didn't know each other, we had just met. And so we, to find that, and the thing was, that day that we were shooting that love scene, the first day, my mother had come to visit me.
No.
And she was like, "Oh, you're going to shoot today. I'll come to the set and I can see you do your work." And I was like, "Oh, wow." And I couldn't really explain to her, like, that like, maybe it's not because she was only there for the couple of days. And she was like, "I really want to come. I've never been on a set before. I've never seen you do your thing." So my mother comes to the set, and I'm in bed with this wonderful actress, kissing, and we're kind of, she's got a little bra on, and I've got no shirt on, and my mom's like over by the monitor, and I'm doing the scene, and then at some point the actress she was getting really uncomfortable, and she looks at me and she goes, "Asif, could you tell your mom to like not be in the room?"
Oh.
And I look over, and my mom is standing by the DP, like she's standing right next to the camera guy, and just watching. And she's got this big smile on her face. And I was like, "Mom, I can't do this." She was insulted. She was like, "What, do you think I haven't seen something like this before?" And I was like, "No, Mom, you can't be here right now. That's just, right. I'm just drawing that line." And so she got really insulted, and she went into the other room. She thought that I was acting as if she was being sort of, like uptight or something, when she was like, "I don't care, like, it's great." But I found it very difficult in that moment, understandably, to be romantic. And I just remember that poor actress. Who I'm still friends with today. She was just like, yeah, your mom. Why would you invite your mom to this? And I was like, I didn't.
Could have said, I always like to have my mum with me when I film a scene.
I was like, well, you don't have your mom when you're making love in the corner. Like, you don't have that? Come on. Everybody has
that. Jocko, did you want to touch this subject?
Nope. No, yeah, I got some. I got some. Yeah, it was my first film. I had the lead in. It was an independent film, and the actress I was playing opposite hadn't done anything. Not even had been, going to school or anything yet. Not quite sure how she got the role, but and for myself, I was there, in UCLA theater, just fresh. Got all of the technique stuff that they're pounding into your head at that time on me. So I tried to give her some advice or, just to make sure that the scenes would come out nice. Mind you, we had a sex scene coming up, weeks later. But after a while, she got pretty annoyed with me, attempting to mold her in the process of this film, that she stopped talking to me. We still had this sex scene coming up and we weren't even speaking to each other. So it was just very awkward, a very wild, intimate, hot scene. With someone you're not even speaking to was quite odd, but it turned out good. We became good friends after that, so it was cool.
All right, well, this may be a good follow-up to this. What is the most insulting thing a director has ever said to you? The most insulting thing. Do you want to start with this, Asif?
I was on Broadway in Oklahoma, directed by Trevor Nunn. And it was the first day of rehearsal, and I was playing the peddler, and I came on, and I did my scene, and I was nervous because, it was like, I'd never been on Broadway before, and it was like kind of a big deal, and so I come on, I do my first scene, I exit the stage, and Trevor says, in a very polite English sort of way, he's like, could you just a minute, just stop just a minute, and he just walks over to me, and he's got this big grin on his face. He puts his arm around me and he takes me over in the corner a little bit and he looks at me and he says, "Now, Asif, do you plan on doing it like that?" And I was like, no. And he's like, "Oh, jolly good, all right, carry on." And went back to his seat. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And know what I did? Never gonna do that again. But I don't know what to do. Anyway, it turned out fine, but that might have been the most jarring sort of, and it was just said with that sort of, British politeness of like, and he just had a big smile on his face the whole time. So, but we got along after that. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of, British kindness, I'm sure what he just said. How about you, Joseph? Did you have an insulting moment with a director?
Yeah. Okay, so I did a film years ago, Alexander, which was the Oliver Stone film. And they decided during the film, okay, your character's going to ride in on a horse and he's going to tell Alexander, my father is in trouble. We have to go back and we have to save him. He's in the gully and he's been overrun by troops. So I'd never ridden a horse. So they were like, okay, we'll give you a day's horse riding training, which was just awful for me. The horse got away from me while I was doing the training. I let go of the reins and they had to ride up on either side and grab it. So I was terrified, so nervous. I jumped on the horse on the day and I was ready to ride it in. And of course, I kicked the horse and I went to ride in to meet Colin Farrell, who's playing Alexander, and the horse kind of click-clocked in like this, no urgency at all. And I said, "Alexander, my father has fallen. He's, we have to go back." And Oliver Stone came over and he goes, "That was fucking pathetic. You look like a fucking little girl on that horse. That was terrible." And so he put me on the back of Jared Leto's horse, right? So he goes, "Okay, Jared's going to ride in, and it's as if you've caught a ride on his horse." So they started, and Jared was amazing on a horse. He'd had all this training, and he reared the horse up and rode in. And as he stopped by Colin, I just slid off the horse and fell to the ground. And so Oliver Stone comes over and he goes, "That was even worse." I don't know what to do. Put him back on his own horse. So I got my own horse, and I'm like, this is it. I've got to get this moment right. Like, I've got to do this, or I'm going to be out of this movie. So I managed to get the horse going, and I rode over really well, fast enough. And he goes, and I go, Alexander, my father's fallen. We've got to go back to the galley. We've got to save him. And Alexander does his big, like, looking at the enemy and make the decision and turn around. And they all ride off. And I turn my horse as well. And this is in the movie. Clip clop away, just way behind them, riding off like heroic soldiers. I'm trotting behind them off to save my father. But that was the best that he could get, And so that always sticks with me.
Jocko, how about you? Do you have a moment?
I can't recall right now about a director, but I do have something the casting director said to me. And I was auditioning for this comedy movie, and I was so bad that the director goes, first he goes, "Are you okay?" Secondly, he goes, "How long have you had this?" And I said, "Oh, I just got it. I had it for a long time." And he goes, he said, "Okay, do it again." And I did it. He goes, "Okay, you're getting worse." And I said, "Damn." He's like, "Why don't you do us both a favor? You go home and just work on this more, and then come back." And I was like, but I didn't feel insulted at the time. I felt like, this is something that I had to go work on. And so I learned from that experience.
He's a nice casting director to get you to come back and do it. That's
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael, how about you?
I think to me, when the first thing I feel when I hear that question, it's not so much something a director particularly said to me, but I think it's in the constructs of certain types of archetypes, certain types of characters. If you're playing, let's say, a person from the ghetto, or if you're playing somebody that's in a gang or whatever, you tend to have the idea that people think that these people are a little bit less humane. And the tendency is always to vilify them, to make them, oh, you're a drug dealer, so you're mean and you're angry and you stand really angry. And so that's something that I bumped heads a lot with directors, telling them, these are just human beings trying to get through life and trying to make the best of things. And if they could not do this, most of them wouldn't want to do it. It's not a type of person, it's a circumstance. So that was I think, the thing I bumped heads with the most, struggling with finding that.
Ian, are you ready to jump in here?
Yeah, I've never really had anyone say anything directly, but I've had from Video Village, the director, and I know it's the director, going, "Oh," and you just go, and it's on your close up on it's your take, and you just hear him go, "Oh, cut," and you think, "What did I do? What was it?" And that's really can be really soul destroying, when you hear just a groan coming from Video Village, and you think, I'm really trying here. And then of course it plays with your insecurity and your paranoia about how your performance is. So while it's not a sentence, it's enough to throw you off. Because as actors, you're very aware who's at Video Village. You were talking about your mum, Azif. I wouldn't be able to do what you did if my mum was watching. I'm very aware who is at Video Village, and sometimes just an external presence at Video Village can throw you off your whole game. You're like, who is that person? Why are they there? What relationship do they have to the whole show? So energies on set, for me anyway, are very important about who's around and who's welcome, who's pushing you to do your best work.
Yeah, I just want to say in general, to all the people listening out there, if there are any directors listening out there, or producers or writers, and this is something I'm hearing a lot of stories here with actors that I really relate with, and I really feel for. And I think as your career starts to develop, you can actually start talking about it openly. And the reason why I'm talking right now is to protect these upcoming actors, no matter what race or gender they are, and just to remind directors and producers and writers that an actor can't perform if he's not vulnerable. And for you and your job as a director and a producer and a writer is to get the best out of that actor. And if you break that actor, then you really are not an artist and you don't understand anything about what you were trying to do. So just a heads up for all these upcoming directors, if you're ever listening to this, or actors, if a director or producer or a writer ever makes you feel weird or messes up your energy on set and you start feeling insecure, just know that you're surrounded by people who don't have the sensitivity that they should have, and that it's not your fault. It's their incompetence or ignorance in that moment. And just stick with what you've prepared, and believe in yourself. It's not you didn't do anything wrong. They're the ones who aren't handling the situation right.
Michael, can I add to that?
Yes,
sorry.
go
Yeah.
please.
That's a great point. And also to the young directors that are out there, to expound on what Michael's saying, it's great if you are educated in how to communicate with actors. I had a professor in college who wrote a book. Her name is Delia Salvi, and she wrote this book called Friendly Enemies. And even if you don't get that book, just the idea of figuring out how to communicate with an actor. And I highly recommend, if you want to be a director, and if you already are a director, to take acting classes. And I mean, immerse yourself directly into that, and see what it's like to be in that situation. And then you can better understand how to communicate with the actor. And I don't know about you guys, but I find that the best directors to work with are actors, or they have been actors before. And it's just such a great experience.
All right, so we're going to have to wrap it up, but I just want to leave it with one more little fun question. Way back to your youth, I feel like you can tell a lot about a person based on what kind of toy they played with when they were a kid. I could be just making this up, but I'm going with it. So let's think back when you're a little boy. What was your favorite toy that you just couldn't leave the house without? Always was just your little friend. Jocko, I'm going to start with you. Can you remember your favorite toy?
Absolutely. I had a collection of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they meant the world to me. I was Leonardo. He was the leader with the katana, and he was blue. Blue was my favorite color. But yeah, all those. I love the turtles, and the toys were a way of me taking that to another level.
Oh, love it. Who's next? Ian, what was your toy?
It was a soccer ball, because I grew up in a household, we weren't allowed little figurine toys. My friends had Action Man, but my dad was like, no, you're not playing with them. Growing up, I always had, someone could just bounce a ball and I'd be like, ball. So even now, I will chase a ball all day long. So for me, it just stayed, soccer. Football.
Asif, what was your toy?
I don't remember what my toy was, but I do remember that for a long time I had these platform shoes.
This took a turn.
Everywhere for about 5 years. It was the
Really?
only thing I ever wore. Yeah, there were these beautiful platform, black leather platform shoes, sort of like Elton John in the 1970s. And so that was one thing that I never left the house without for about 5 years.
I just pictured you at 6 years old walking to Staying Alive in those black shoes.
That was basically me. That was me. And my Bee Gees album. That was it.
Yeah.
Michael, how about you? What was your toy?
It's kind of funny to say it. I feel a little embarrassed, but maybe not at all at the same time. I think I feel proud saying it. I had an action figure, and it's the strangest thing. I asked my father to buy me a Barbie. And I grew up in a house with two brothers and my dad, and they both kind of looked at me like, what do you want a Barbie for? And I wanted to give my superhero a girlfriend. And I was really interested in the relationships. I wanted him to, he goes to war and comes back and she welcomes him and all that stuff. So I had an action figure and a Barbie, and I really loved spending time making them fall in and out of love, and he gets into a fight and he comes back, and so it was both a Barbie and an
Michael,
action.
did you put them together and do that?
You like
No,
that?
I didn't understand that at that point. It was more the intricacies.
Michael, that's a story you tell at dates. That's one that would really get the girl's heart. Have you told that story before?
It's funny. No, I've never actually told anybody ever. This is really the first time that no one's ever asked me what was your first memory of toys, but that was it.
Wow, that's a sweet one. All right, Joseph, can you top that? Can you top a Barbie?
I can't top a Barbie. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a disappointment. Downhill from here. But
you had a pony. Joseph, you had a pony.
I never had a pony. If I'd had a bloody pony, I would have been fine on that horse. I never got a pony. So there you go. No, my grandparents were avid theatre goers, and the first play I ever went to see was Peter Pan. On the way back from the play, I was really quiet. Apparently, I was about I don't know, maybe 5 or 6, and they said like, "Did you enjoy it? Was it good, or did you like it at all?" And I said, "Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how to make the hook, because what I wanted to do was recreate the whole play for my parents, and I decided that I would be Captain Hook. And so my dad, when I got home, made this hook hand for me out of a coat hanger that was sort of attached to a bit of toilet roll, cardboard toilet roll or something. And that was the thing I loved, this fake hook. So I decided from a very young age that I'd play the villain. So there we go.
Wow. Thank you so much, you guys, for this. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so nice meeting everybody
Yeah, nice
here.
to
I'm a
meet you.
fan
Yeah,
of all your
Michael.
work. Yeah, thank you, Lynette.
Thank you.